Falyorian welcome.
A true Falyorian welcome indeed. I am Janky, and this is Gomez,
Hello!
and we are the voices of the old one. Episode 3! Welcome back. On today's episode, we will be talking about the very exciting news.
There's news in Runeterra, you say? I thought that something was happening.
It feels like it's been a long time. When was the last substantial change we had to the game? Like early December?
What substantial change?
Yeah.
The adding of the cards in December, but obviously there was no change in terms of patch notes. It was just these are the new cards. That was like so that was in December, that shake up. Before that, yeah, I think you're right. It was potentially the Lee Sin one, and then we got a very quick was it Go Hard one at the beginning of January. But other than that, we haven't had any patch changey note things for a while.
Yeah, nothing has felt huge, at least in memory, for quite a while. And yeah, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. These patch notes, I'm gonna say they're not perfect. There's definitely some things that have been blatantly missed.
Yeah.
A couple of very meta dominant decks for a very long time have snuck under the radar again.
Yeah.
But these new cards are so sexy, dude.
I mean, no, you know what? Yeah, that was the big. I was just getting into this, thinking, okay, look, because I was even questioning you. I was just like, is the Aphelios thing dropping? Because I haven't heard anything. Right,
Yeah.
it's doing very quiet. And then you were like, oh, here's the graphic which says that it is definitely coming on the 3rd. And I was like, okay, so I was like, why am I not hearing anything from Riot in terms of, oh, well, Aphelios is dropping on the 3rd, and this is going to be what he's dropping with. So I was reserved to the fact Champion was dropping. We might have seen a few cards around him, as you say, we've got cards that are champion cards that kind of revolve around them in their little kind of pool. So maybe a couple, but then that was it. I was not expecting what we got.
Yeah, I was expecting the champion itself, the champion signature spell, and maybe 3 followers. But what did we get? Was it 13 spells across all regions?
Something like
13 cards, sorry.
Something along those lines. It was a lot of cards. It was a lot more than what was expected, and I literally I looked at my phone at, I can't remember what time it was. Was it 4 o'clock that they showed them? I actually remember looking at my phone and thinking, shit's blowing up. I was like, what the hell is everyone talking about? And I was like, oh my god!
Oh, yeah. You think your phone had blown up? I got home from work and fell asleep, so I didn't wake up until 9 p.m. So I had 5 hours of notifications.
Because that's the thing. I was expecting patch notes. Patch notes don't normally drop until 7 or which is 6 or 7. I can't remember what time it is normally, but that's what I mean. So it was 2 hours earlier than what I was expecting, and it's something that everyone dropped. I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Then obviously we then got the patch notes afterwards. It was just just the cherry, the icing on top of the cake. Cherry on the cake is devastating.
Yeah. And what I will say is, these changes, I love all of them. It's not that this patch note isn't, these are on point. It's just that I think some things are missing. But everything that has been done is amazing.
Yes.
So, starting from the top, we have Miss Fortune. Her level up ability just no longer just ends the game.
That was such a big change. Because just taking that overwhelm keyword, the problem with it is literally the second that she attacks forward, doing that free damage, not much could stand in the way of her, and then the overwhelm damage still which it hit in. So the fact you could actually now put a blocker in front of Miss Fortune, and yeah, sure, your Nexus is going to be taking the free damage from the guns, but it's not as game ending as it was, and especially in an archetype such as Scouts, which has been around for a long time. It was it was a nice little change for them to do that. At least it makes it a little bit more fair and not so quick to end the game.
Yeah, a leveled up Miss Fortune attacking in previously needed to be blocked by 8 toughness to survive, and while that's still true, the difference no longer goes directly to your Nexus. I don't usually, when Scouts are leveling up Miss Fortune around about turn 6, I don't usually have Infinite Mind Splitter just sitting there waiting to block, so you usually just die. And I love this. Scouts, I think Plaza Scouts irks me a lot more than any other Scout variant, but it has been around for a while. Scouts has felt like a pretty solved deck. at the start of every
definitely.
patch.
It got just every single time with new cards, they just find a way of putting it more in. The fact that the landmark works so well with it, it just literally just kicked off even more. But it's always been an archetype which has had like a devastating effect on the meta. So it's good to see that it's somewhat been turned down. Potentially more so, but we'll get to that.
Oh yeah. I'll let you do Victor because I feel like this one's much more one of your cards than mine.
Victor! I'm not gonna lie to you. This has not made Victor playable in terms of even I can admit that they took down the amount of created cards down by 1, so it's gone from 8 to 7. That you can create cards to level him. And the actual big change to him is the fact that once he drops, he drops with a hex cord that he can play immediately. Because obviously before you drop him down and then he couldn't do it. You could still buff his stats technically with created cards, but you couldn't give him a hex core upgrade in terms of change one of his keywords immediately. This at least means that second he drops, boom, if you've at least kept 1 mana back on turn 4, you instantly played that, and then he then gets a key word that could potentially be something useful at that time, like even just giving him spell shield or elusive or something. So actually, that is a big buff to him. I'm a realist. He's not gonna be played a lot. Let's face it, because he still gets countered by Hush. Like the only thing that helps him is if his hex score manages to give him spell shield. But obviously that's a big if. So
I'm so don't. I'm so salty. I've played one ranked game today. I was playing into Targon, and they were just churning their way through invoke spells, and I was like, okay, I've managed to dodge 3 Solari Priestesses. All 3 of them whiffed on the Meteor. I just need this spell shield. I was like 13 keywords deep.
Yep.
And I didn't. I whiffed.
You actually got the keyword deep.
Yeah, I was there. Like, it got to the point where if I right-clicked on him, I couldn't see all of his keywords, and I still whiffed on spell shield.
Devastating. That's what I mean.
It was a bad game.
There's a lot in there, and so it's not reliable enough. He is definitely a fun champion, and there is definitely ways of doing it fun. But with Hush still being in the game in the way there is in terms of it still is going to get played. We will get down to obviously what's happened to Hush, but it's still in the game. I just don't see him seeing too much play because his whole thing just gets shut down so fast by that.
I love this. I think it's a cool change. They basically done a Draven on him where like when you play him, you get the card immediately, immediate impact. I love it. I think it would have been a bit better to either make his back face more impactful or make his level up condition even further down. Like we could have been talking like 5 created cards and it would still be fair.
It is quite a while to get to that point, isn't it? Really? So
yeah. His back face just feels so underwhelming in comparison to the amount of effort that needs to go in. But regardless, I love the change. It's some help going his way.
Yeah,
and I'd rather we knew they were going to be a little bit conservative because like this is the last patch before tournaments, so like this is all well and good. I'm surprised we saw any buffs at all, actually, keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
Next we have the Grand Plaza, and I think this was one of the changes we entertained talking about this last week.
Yes.
They just bumped off the toughness.
Yep. Yeah. That's it, to be fair, it has made the card more fair. The fact that you could literally like summon a Valor or even summon 2 Valors, it had the increased stat thing. All it needed to do is make sure it was trading with something which only had like 1 attack, which it's just made it that it's just fair. It's basically what that's done there is that without giving it the increased health, it's just made it so that it's you're trading with the card as it would be, and it doesn't make things like Misfortune go insane because obviously, like they could still play a Misfortune and get a decent enough trade off with her, and this just means that it's less likely that they're going to be doing things like that. So I'm honestly God happy with what they've done with that. If I was being picky, just because I wanted to see the card change to play effect rather than summon.
Yeah.
Because admittedly, I will admit, so this has really done a massive hit on scouts using it. Scouts will might even, I don't know whether or not Scouts will drop it, but potentially this might be enough for them to drop it from Scouts. Targon with Ace on that, like whether or not they still keep this, I don't know. But definitely the one who is not affected and cares very little about this is Ephemerals, because they're gonna die anyway. They don't give a crap about that extra health stat. So
that is one. Yeah, no, that was the first thing I thought when I saw this, and yeah, I do feel a little bit picky, but also of Scouts, Plaza Targon, and Hecarim Lucian. The Hecarim Lucian is the one that annoys me the most because it has no bad matchups. It's strictly high roll or don't.
Yeah, that deck hasn't really been affected. Because the thing of it is that it hasn't really affected Lucian, because he still is going to have the increased stat as well as his quick attack, so he didn't really care about the increased health upon dropping on into this. And just the Ephemerals, they don't care. They don't care about the health. They're gonna die at the end of the turn anyway. So I will say that it's hit a number of the decks which use this, but one of the big men who uses this hasn't really been hit at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Targon Plaza's still gonna run this. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, Targon Plaza basically got well, they got touched a little, but like this is not a huge nerf to Targon.
Yeah.
Next is the card that everyone has been crying about since it got nerfed, and been begging for some kind of like revert. And they move some stats around. War Chefs has gone from 2-3 to 1-3 to 2-2. And it's like I don't think it really
to be fair, this one I didn't really care. I will say, in a personal opinion, I honestly think it's made the card slightly weaker. If I'm
bro, like it's. I think this is a side grade in a not particularly favorable diagonal. You know,
that's what I mean. I get, sure, give him the extra stat. I mean, I guess now this can trade with the goat, which that is a boost. It can now trade with the goat, so it's not as bad feeling about that. But at the same point, there is so many 2-1s that now this just immediately gets traded off by, whereas when it had that extra stat, also, it used to be able to survive Avalanche. I mean, the Avalanche is not as big of a thing now, but because let's face it, the War Chef, you're not really caring about the damage output that he's putting out. It's more, if you're using this, it's who he's buffing. So if you're buffing Fiora, or if you're buffing, that's who you care about, is who War Chef is buffing. So for the increased health, just gave him potentially 1 or 2 turns of that continuous buff. But obviously, I guess, as I said, it does help it with going against the GOAT and things like that. But other than that, I'm not sure whether this is a buff or a nerf or what. In my opinion, it's really weird. It's really weird.
If nothing else, regardless, like, you could argue about the nitpicks of this card for a while.
Oh yeah.
The fact that it is so, it's so debatable. I don't think it's going to make a change to the meta at all. This card is not going to replace any. The old style mono Demacia Bannerman is not coming back for a while. Yeah. Which makes me a little bit sad. Bannerman was I don't want to say a cool deck, but it was like very vanilla, and we're kind of lacking a very vanilla deck in the meta right now. This next card. Oh, this makes me so happy. So a common thing that is said in card games is, if you take 2 cards and then you staple them together, then the cost of that card should be those 2 cards plus 1. Right. And we've seen this with Homecoming already. It's Will of Ionia plus Recall plus that Recall. How much does Recall cost? 1. Well, Recall's an unplayable card though. So what I'm saying here is I like Recall as a card.
Yes.
It's just not quite good enough. Retreat Return almost made it for a while. Homecoming being buffed to 4 mana, the idea of your opponents going in for the attack, you block, however, you bounce one of your units that's blocking underneath something that doesn't have Overwhelm, and you bounce one of their units. The value situations that come from playing this card on the defensive, and obviously Ionia being the control.
Yeah.
I've kind of really gone around the point I'm trying to make, but you understand what I'm saying. I really like this change.
Yeah, no, it makes the card more playable. The thing of it is that people were seeing this because people remember what it was like when Will of Ionia cost less, right? And so I guess when they put this in, they were like, okay, it's a recall card, let's put it up to 5. But on the same point, it does deserve to be less, because this is not a Will of Ionia. Will of Ionia is simply, I'm removing something from my opponent's side of the field, and so, I'm removing a threat. Whereas this is, I am removing a threat, but I'm also losing a slight bit of tempo on my own side, because I'm having to recall something on my side. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain aspects of things that you want to recall because you'd like to get their ability off twice, but at the same point, there is still that element of you are having to recall one of your own units, so you are losing tempo on this board while playing it. So that's why it should technically be cheaper than Will of Ionia, because it's not the same. It is like a different flavor.
I really like that we have a Will of Ionia S card back in the meta. I liked Will of Ionia at 4 mana. I was completely Stockholmed by that card. Like, I thought it was fine. I understand why it wasn't, but I felt like it was.
Yeah.
And I like to see a powerful control piece coming out of Ionia that isn't the 2 cards that only get that, like, the only cards that ever get played from Ionia.
Yeah.
And this is a really interesting card to play with and around. I love the card design.
Let's face it, the card looked fantastic, and the design was good, but then it didn't really see play. This hit the game, and then people were just like, I don't really see the point.
I tried my best, but it very underperformed. But what kind of cards can we put into play with it? I'm glad you asked. Have you seen the buff to Greenglade Elder?
Greenglade Elder, that took me by the biggest surprise, but then I looked at it and thought, I mean, to be fair, it does make sense. You play 3 mana. It's costing you 3 mana, and all you were getting was, it's buffing everything in the hand. Bear in mind, that is just the hand, not in your entire deck. So it's not like this. The card relies on you making sure that you have got a number of things in hand that are going to be useful, like in terms of that you are going to be buffing, so that you want to have a reasonable hand size. You don't have played everything onto the board and whatnot. Is basically the point that I'm trying to make. But the fact that if you say that you had a hand that was bricked by spells, and you had a couple of units in, you played this guy on 3, and you got, everything's buff 1/1, but then I've got this 1/1 on the board.
Yeah.
It really was. No wonder this card didn't see play. For 3 cost, you expect more. So the fact that they changed this does.
I freaking love this card. I love Keleseth effects. I love Avarosan Hearthguard. It's probably one of my favorite Freljord cards.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite cards in the game. I just love the idea of cards with medium stat lines that lead to very high value traits in the future. I don't think this stat change. I think it's very funny. I like the idea that Greenglade Elder went to the gym, but I don't think this makes a huge difference. The 3/1 stat line is pretty doomed.
It's very true, but at least it does make it so that it could actually see some play now.
Oh yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Admittedly, it will mostly likely, because the thing of it is, it's still got that 1 stat line, so there's a lot of things that can counter a 1 stat line, but at least it makes it not feel as bad as if you were playing it, right? In terms of that, that is something which can at least trade.
And understand me when I say this. I will. And I always have, and I will keep playing this card because I really like Greenglade Elder. It's my favorite retreat return target.
Yeah.
No one expects the Karate Man.
No one. I mean, I wouldn't.
The next one is a little bit disappointing. This is if I were pushed to say what my favorite card in the game is, not necessarily from a design standpoint, but just because this card art is so sick and its voice lines are so cool, Captain Farron is probably one of my favorite cards in Legends of Runeterra. It's iconic, and this nerf, I really just wish it was a revert. I wish they just turned it back to old Farron. The all-in stupid card that old Farron was, turning your entire hand into decimates, felt very game-ending, all-in, balls to the wall, Noxus. I have made it this far in this game. I haven't won yet, and this is my last showing. This is, new Farron, he just draws you 2 cards, and those cards are good. It doesn't feel Demacian. Or, it's 3 down to 2. And also Noxon, sorry.
The thing of it is that at that point in the game, I feel I can understand why they've done this, right? Because, let's face it, Farron, when Farron's dropping, depending on what kind of deck you're playing Farron in, by the time he's dropping, you're not going to be using all 3 of those decimates anyway,
No,
right?
no, no.
Right, you're probably 1, potentially 2 opponents dead, right? Because this unit is attacking forward with overwhelm. It's an 8/8. There's not many things which are going to be blocking you. Right, there are some obviously, but not many. My point is, and he's going to be doing damage, and then that. So I think the reason why they cut this down is because in the decks that were playing it, they were basically just rummaging off like the third one, or the like it gave cards in there that could just be like cycled into other things, right?
Yeah.
So I can kind of understand why they've taken it down, because like they can be, well, technically people weren't really using the third decimate to kill anyone anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can see why. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a good nerf. Like I say, I personally have like feelings for this card. Farron, like not in that way. Farron, Cythria, a bunch of the LOR exclusive characters that have become quite iconic.
You know, you go into Jakey's bedroom. There's like the body pillow on the bed. It's full on Farron.
When I climax, I shout, "Enough! Let's end this."
Like... exactly.
Anyway.
Yes.
The nerf is fine. It's still a strong card. I think Ezreal Draven is probably still fine. That deck largely sure it is like a Farron. Farron is its win con, but like it revolves around so much board pressure and control that I think the deck will still exist.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. As I said, they weren't really using the third decimate anyway. So other than for cycle, I think that's about the only reason they were using it.
This next one's really funny because I can't remember I do remember it's not often though you get to see a nerf or a buff to a card that has no like rarity, like to a token or something.
Yeah.
The last one was Behold the 7-cost Celestial card. But like Blade of the Exile is down from a 3-cost to a 1-cost. It no longer triggers Tri-Beam Probulator. It's a huge nerf.
I mean, it's one of those things, right, where basically Riven wasn't seeing too much play. Like, people experimented with her, but like, you know, like, let's face it, the big champ out of the latest was Zoe, which is just the comedy of the fact that everyone said that she was going to be the least played one at the time. But
no comment.
I like the fact that this at least it makes it quicker. It means that you haven't got to put as much mana into that move. Obviously, it's still slow speed, but it feels nicer, right? Because the fact that you could now throw this down on top of Riven, and then like or throw even other things on top of Riven, right? So you can throw down a Wrath, like or a couple of Wraths. Obviously, you'd go Wrath first because she would get the addition if she was leveled, which she would if this was in hand. She would get like the first, but it would be +6 rather than +3, and then you put this stat in, or so. The fact that it frees up the mana to do additional moves, or even put Might on top of somebody else as well. I honestly think that it makes it at least more playable rather than clunking up the fact that you have to play 3 mana for a slow speed spell, which is then gonna, So
100% this is stronger and more playable. And while I was joking before, I will say the relevance of this card no longer triggering Probulator will come up more often than you think. Because Riven was, if she was ever seeing play, she was seeing play as an Ezreal replacement in Draven Ezreal. Yeah. So like, I actually think the fact that this doesn't trigger Probulator will be more relevant than, but like overall, this is still obviously a net buff. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, like Riven is just like raw stats. Maybe we'll start seeing people play Riven over in Draven, who incidentally managed to dodge another nerf. Draven and Fiora Shen as an entire deck has managed to be dodging like nerfs after nerf after nerf after nerf. It's pretty impressive.
They've done well.
Yeah. And on the Blade, like
this path. Is Blade Squire. This stat change just makes so much sense. Number 1 for the region it's in, and number 2 for its purpose. Obviously, what's happened is Blade Squire has gone from a 1-2 to a 2-1. This makes so much sense because number 1, you want him to die. His whole this sounds terrible. His whole purpose is to die, right? You want that last breath because if you're running this card, you're running it in a Reforged deck. So you technically want him to die because you want the fragment to then work with getting Blade the Exile / Riven. And the fact that he was a 1/2 so that he actually could make a trade and survive, just like it's so much more better to have that 2/1. He applies pressure. He's Noxus. He's about doing damage. And so the fact that he now actually has early game aggression and forces your opponent to have to do something about him so that you then get the Reforge. Because let's face it, some people, I know that whenever I came across this card, I was like, well, I'm not going to trade with him. My Nexus can take 1 damage and I'm just stopping them from getting a Reforge to help with their Riven. So I just always let this go through. But obviously now, 2 damage, it does require, okay, I might need to do something about this.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this is just like, it was stupid that this was not the way that it was in the first place. Like,
yes.
So
yes.
Very healthy change. Might actually see play now. Like the aggressive, the 1-cost 2/1 with upside is a stat line that is generally playable. Like, Precious Pet-esque style. Oh, the next one is all you. You can go off, because I know you have a lot of problems with this card.
You know what the comedy of it is, right? So Hush, everyone's wanted to see a nerf to Hush. This one does actually make sense. It has just gone back up to its original cost, I believe. I think it was a free cost, right? In the original.
Yeah, remember that time where they were like, "Don't worry, guys, we nerfed Hush," and then they just didn't. And they like it was a side grade roughly in Hush's favor.
Well, no, because here was the thing, right? So it was so it started off as a free cost. Once you play it, it then creates a fleeting copy of itself in the hand, so you can just like use Hush all over the place. And then they changed it to it was still a free I believe it was still a free cost, but every single copy it made of itself cost 1 more, right? So you play a copy of fleeting copies in hand, and it costs 4. You play another copy, it costs 5. But you're not fleeting.
I think so, yeah. Because there was definitely a patch where,
yeah. And then obviously they changed it to 2, and it lost all that ability to create more copies of itself.
That latter change was a buff.
Yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah. It is in a better place now. Now you're not having to worry about that 2-mana slot thinking, oh crap, he's still got 2 mana. I mean, like, Hush is definitely coming out. Hush has got to come out. It makes it so that it's don't get me wrong. I feel like people initially, it's like, you know, that kind of effect where people see the card's been nerfed and be like, oh, I'm taking it out of my decks, but this will find its way back into people's deck. It is such a strong card. At the end of the day, regardless of its cost, I feel like this card will still find its way back in, but at least it will be fairer in its cost that it's taken away from the person, so they're not then doing more moves on top of it. The one comical thing that I will say is that considering the fact what you were saying about the nerf in quotation marks to Blade of the Exiles. This is now a buff to Hush in terms of now it works. now it works with Tri-Beam in Propulate.
Well, that was like they came out together, remember, didn't they?
Yeah,
like Hush was another Nox and Guillotine, a 3-cost repeatable. I think that was a synergy they had in mind a while ago, but,
yes.
but it never turned out that way.
Oh, you know, it was a little bit too overpowered. But honest to God, still, jokes aside, I feel like this card will still see play. It's such good value, right? At the end of the day, it is something which, because of its ability to target champions, as well as followers, it can literally save your life in several situations. And for free cost, but at least it's fairer now. That's the one thing I will say. I'm 100% behind this nerf in terms of the fact that at least it is now a nicer way. Like, you don't feel as bad. Like when it was being played against you at 2 cost, it was like, son of a bitch, but I will accept 3 cost. It's taking more resource out of your opponent.
Yeah. And the last change, and praise be, they didn't remove the draw. This is a pretty mild nerf. Pale Cascade is still give +1/+1 this round. Nightfall draw card. It was either going to be +2/+0 or +1/+1, or Riot would have lost their mind. Like there was the third option where
it had to be one of those two.
Yeah, well, there was like a third option where Riot just wanted to delete this card, right? And there was like that was like a real reality I imagined we would be living in. Like deep down, I kind of thought they might want to take this like out of Targon's identity, like the ability to cycle through your deck very quickly. But praise be the lords that the Pale Cascade still exists in the game, because regardless of its power as a good combat trick, being able to dig is something that you need in Legends of Runeterra. Legends of Runeterra currently doesn't really have a powerful combo deck, except arguably Lee Sin. You could call that combo. And yeah, I think combo a deck which has the ability to decisively finish the game in a certain number of actions, like Lee Sin, is integral for a healthy meta, regardless of how much you hate Lee Sin or not. Like, there needs to be aggro, there needs to be combo, there needs to be control, and mid-range can just kind of suck dick. But those three need to exist for a healthy meta. And yeah, this was so important to a lot rode on this decision, and I'm really glad that this nerf is mild.
Yeah, as I said, I would like, if I was going to be picky, I would have said I would have preferred it to have been the +2/0 and still the draw. Like, if I was going to be honest, because that increase of health stat still allows it to get past trades, right? That I feel like that was the thing that most people hate when you go across against this card, is you'd be like, okay, right, I would have played this and this. Okay, they can put that on top of it. But the Power Cascade, that health buff will allow it to get past. Like, I feel like it was the health buff that people more like whenever you are on the attacking side, thinking, okay, I can put all these things forward. It can't get past this apart from Power Cascade. So honestly, like, cause at that point, I don't care about the increased damage. I would rather it not have the increased health so it doesn't get past the trade. Because at that point, I don't mind my unit getting traded off as long as I know that I'm trading off something on the other side of the field. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. So I will say that I would have preferred it as the 2/0, but it is a change. It is a change to Power Cascade, and obviously a stat line change does make it fairer. So I'm all good with this. I'm quite happy that they did this. There's other things, as I'm sure that like you're thinking as well. There's other things in this patch I wish were hit, but all in all, a number of things got hit. A number of like things that people really wanted to see get hit got hit.
It's a great patch. I would have liked to have seen a direct hit to Draven rather than Farron. I think Draven has been a center point problem. I think if they nerfed Draven, it would in one fell swoop make discard aggro a bit less unfair and also deal with Ezreal Draven more effectively than just nerfing Farron.
As you said, just the nerf of literally stopping him from getting his axe on play would be enough. In honesty, the reverse of what they did to Victor, just taking away his axe upon play, I feel like that would make him fair, because bear in mind he is already a quick attack. There's not many things which are going to be dealing with him at that point in the game, so he's probably going to get a strike for nothing. But the ability of that axe to just cycle through whatever it is that they need it to is devastating.
Yeah, and the other two changes that I'm really surprised we didn't see it like at all. Really, like the only nerf to the Lee Sin variants. Oh well, I suppose Lee Sin also plays Hush, but these last two changes, the Pale Cascade cost.
You mean the main thing that countered Lee was
true.
Hush, and now that's been left. But I mean, these Pale Cascade.
Hush was the main counter to Lee, but also we can't discount that they were also playing that card. So let's call that net neutral. Lee Sin managed to dodge a nerf, and the entirety of the Fiora Shen deck managed to dodge a nerf, despite being meta dominant for
a long time,
almost a year, right?
A very long time. The one nerf that I would say that I would have liked to have seen to that deck, speaking of, is literally Mentor of the Stones. I think that Mentor of the Stones is insane value, especially for that deck. I feel like the fact that it gives a buff, but not only that, like once it gets traded off, those 3 gems just do so much to help Lee in that like get to his level up condition in that deck. That
you're almost halfway there with one card. Not only do you set up the lethal, like you get Lee Sin to like one shot range later in like what I mean by that is it gives you the +2/+0, it gives you the +3 plus the base stat line. We're up to 8. You're doing 16 damage once you combo off, and that is one card that got you to that stupid amount of damage, and also got you 3 ticks of your level up. It's like it's so much. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that needed to see a hit, but other than that, who knows? Might get hit in the future. But still, all in all, really good patch notes, really good things. So, shall we get on to the new cards?
Oh yes, please. So, couple of notes before we talk through these. You will be getting all of these for free if you log in over the next 7 days, which is astounding. I love Legends of Runeterra. The monetary system in this game is actually stupid. Like skins before cards is just like.
I would just like to point out that you get one copy of each of them for free.
Oh, is it just one copy?
You don't get all free. You don't get 3 copies of each card, but it is still a big thing that they've done. In that you do get number 1, you get a copy of the champion for free immediately. One copy. And then every single day for 7 days, you get one copy of literally all of the new cards. But yeah, you won't have 3 copies. It won't be immediate. Like you'd have to.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I just thought I'd point that out.
I didn't actually know that, but regardless, that's still stupid. That is there are there's epics in here, there's champions in here. You're looking at for logging in for 7 days, you're getting 7,000 dust worth of cards, as opposed to Hearthstone, which, well, we don't need to talk about that.
You mean give me your money?
Speaking of things we won't be talking about, if you want to know our opinions on Aphelios, we spoke about him extensively.
Oh yes,
in the last episode. So we're talking about the other new cards today.
Yes. And what is amazing, and what I do love what they've done about some of these new cards, is literally they're all the Targon cards are all cards of his weapons, right? In terms of beasts, they're of his weapons.
I don't know.
So the flight, the fangs, the cloven way, the skies, literally, if you look at the cards, they are his weapons in beast form.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the lore. But,
I don't know enough about that to say that. But literally, if you do look at them, it is, and
it does look like it, right?
And whoever the hell the woman is, because I do apologize, I don't know League of Legends. I don't know the story behind the lore behind Aphelios, but the ghost woman who's with him.
Oh, that's going to annoy me. I know her name.
If you look at the full card art of all of those, you actually see her performing ceremony. So I'm assuming she is getting the power out of those creatures to make his weapons through that. If you actually look at the card art, but that's not important. Let's actually get into what the cards do.
Yeah. That is gonna piss me off, though.
I have thrown you. Let's bring you back.
I'm using Google. 1 second. You so the flight. You go off. I'm gonna go Google what
the flight. Actually, a very interesting card in the fact that literally it's one of those cards, right? Which it looks good, but also looks bad. Because the fact that literally it's really weird, right?
Because it actually just is.
It's a 1 cost. It's a 1 cost elusive. It's a 2/1, so it's going to be doing damage. But upon hitting the Nexus, it will draw a card, which is good. But then it will shuffle itself immediately into the top 3 cards of your deck. So therefore, meaning that it is a loss of tempo, as well as the fact that... So imagine it's like the Katarina kind of effect, in that it will be attacking and then basically recalling itself, but not just recalling itself to your hand, it will be recalling itself to the top 3 cards of your deck. Therefore, kind of taken away from your draw, in a manner of speaking, because it now means that card is in the top 3 cards. Don't get it wrong, it could see some fringe play in a Twisted Fate deck, maybe, for draw. Crazy elusive, doing damage in draw kind of deck, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not it's going to see play outside of that. That's just the only thing I can think that it looks like it's going to be. But it's a loss of tempo. That's going to be the only problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very cheap investment. It chips in for 2. It replaces the card that so when sure, you're drawing it later, right?
Yeah.
And you have the downside of drawing it later, but it's like it draws you in that moment, so it's like it goes net neutral on the card draw aspect. I think the ability to just pay 1 to deal 2 uncontested throughout the game seems pretty good. I like this card. I don't know if it necessarily...
my point is that it shuffles itself into the top 3 cards, so you will just be getting. So what my point is it's diluting your deck in terms of the fact that, say there's other cards you want to be drawing, you're basically just putting this back into your deck where it's like, oh, but I want this other card rather than getting this card back. That's yeah.
But the number of cards you've drawn hasn't changed. Because, like, when it draws you a cards and then it shuffles itself in. You're just not going to draw it. The turn that you draw this card, you would have drawn the card that you drew previously. If you hadn't played this card.
True. I can see that. I just feel like, to me, I feel
there's a lot of moments where it will feel like it feels bad, right? It feels bad to draw this card. You're like, oh, I put this there, but like it goes neutral on draw, and it's kind of like Sinister Strike. It's a 1-cost, deal X to the opponent's Nexus. They don't have very much to say about it. Unlike Sinister Strike, it can be responded to on like pretty much every level. But like, it's cool. I like the card.
I do like there is a quick turn 1 for Targon, which could counter an opponent's Zoe or Teemo. I do like that aspect of it.
Yeah. One thing that I think is very funny, by the way, talking about just the art of these 4 cards, these 4 Targon cards, is they're fucking enormous. They are so big.
Yes.
The flight takes up the entire sky, and it's a 2/1.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. This card and pretty much all the cards that they've released are very not like Legends of Runeterra cards. So they had the foundation set and all of they introduced new regions and they gave those regions identity. And then with like the KDA cards and this champion set, they've released cards that are very interesting and reward weird deck building.
Yes.
And I love this. I love this.
I love it. Let's very quickly just get through his weapons, like in terms of like the other Targon card creatures. So the Sky Shadows. So when summoned, it will is it mana by 2? Refill the mana by 2, I believe.
If you behold a Nightfall.
If you behold a Nightfall card. The good thing about this, obviously, is it works with Aphelios's one of his spells because they do summon 2 costs. So technically, this is a 2 cost that will could be summoned within that region, as well as the fact that you do have the 2 cost elusive thing in there as well. So technically, which is a Nightfall, and Aphelios himself is a Nightfall. So there is a chance of you hitting that quite easily and just being able to refill that mana for a bit, as well as getting like a nice stat minion on the board. So I don't mind this.
Yeah. I like it. I think I saw somebody on Twitter. I couldn't tell you exactly who. Someone mentioned on Twitter that this works quite interesting in Ionia with a spell focused Claws of the Dragon, Sky Shadow, every turn you're not really spending mana kind of deck.
Yeah,
like tempo Ionia, which excites me. I really want to try that. The card's just kind of average, but I think that's really. I think it's cool. I think 90% of these cards are very average and very cool. So I'm okay with this.
They have done really well. The next one would be the Fangs, which is a lifesteal minion. Invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. We've been seeing a lot of these cards coming up recently, especially with Zoe and whatnot, where they are invoking celestial cards in that 3 or less pool. It does have a really nice lifesteal tag on there for 3 damage. I say it's one drawback. I'd say its main drawback is the fact that it is 4 cost, meaning that it is vying for space with isn't Aphelios himself 4 cost, I believe, plus Scryer is 4 cost, plus
I think Aphelios is a 3 cost, isn't he?
Oh, he might be. I can't remember how much he costs, but basically Scryer, and I swear there's something else in that 4 cost region that are like
Solari Sunforger.
Yes, which does do better in terms of that lifesteal, but obviously it doesn't have the invoke bit of it. So it's one of those things where it's a lot to ask whether or not it's going to edge out Scryer or Sunforger.
I think so. This card is definitely in like the upper 3 of the cards revealed today. This card's really good. Like on surface, when I look at this card, I think this card's kind of fucked. But you say 4 is quite expensive and it is competing for space. But I think the decks that are aiming for Aurelion Sol will play Solari Sunforger. I think that the decks that are aiming for maybe like Zoe Diana, Zoe Aphelios, Aphelios Diana, those kind of decks are very much more likely to play the Fangs.
Yes. Yeah, makes sense.
I don't think you're going to ever come across a deck that's playing both.
And so obviously the last one that is like a unit that's for what you call it in Targon based on the weapons is the Cloven Way, which is Nightfall, stun an enemy. If it is a follower, stun it again at the start of the next round, or just like a round start for the next turn. So what is
at the beginning of your opponent's next upkeep? Yeah,
that's the words.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with this one. It's overwhelm as well as a keyword. It's got 5 attack, which is quite nice. It's one thing is that obviously for a Nightfall card, 5 cost is a lot, but you could get that cost down to 4 with the why can't I think of the damn name of that card which gives you the dust petal or whatnot. Yeah. So you can get down in cost. It is stunning an enemy. You could use this on your defensive turn or on your attack turn to know that either you're stunning something and then when you go forward into attack, that unit's also going to be stunned, or when you go in your defensive turn, knowing that unit is not going to be attacking you. It does have synergy in there. Potential Yashiro synergy for him hitting in twice could be a thing. But yeah,
even even potential overwhelm synergy, like moving a blocker out of the way and having the overwhelm stat line. I don't think this card on its own is enough to push Freljord out of the way and make a Noxon Targon decisive maneuvers deck, but I am interested to try and play Targon decisive maneuvers because that deck is cheesy and hilarious.
Yes, no, you're right. It would be a lot of fun to play.
And no, this card will probably see play somewhere, but in this exact moment, I can't tell you where.
Yeah. Until we start seeing things, it's hard to tell, right?
In the past, I would have said this card, like a past me would have said this card is probably not good enough to make it. But having already seen how dumb Infinite Mind Splitter was, and having this be like a mini Infinite Mind Splitter, it's I think it might get there, somewhere anyway.
I mean, I definitely feel like it opens more doors, right, for different regions to, like as you said. So maybe Noxian, because you've got obviously like there's a little bit of synergy in there with stuns already, or Yasuro, because obviously we've kind of been seeing these 3 regions all kind of stunny, but then it's always been that Noxus has had more than Targon, so it's always gone kind of more that way if you were going to go with a Yasuro deck. Not that Yasuro decks are played that much, but you know what I mean, like in terms of its finish. So it's interesting to see, right?
I'm always excited to try and play Yasuo and then be deeply disappointed. Like
exactly.
every patch, yeah.
Plus, you know, this might see a little bit more of a rise in Paddlestar, because Paddlestar does work off of stunned units doing 4 damage. It does cost more than a Flock, but I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows what you might see from this? So then that leads us on to the Targonian new landmark. Those bastards over at Targon have decided to be greedy enough to take 3 landmarks.
Oh yeah, they do have 3.
They do have 3 landmarks, but let's get into it because obviously this is actually a really good one. So the Veiled Temple. So each round, the first time that you play 2 other cards, refill 2 mana and grant your strongest ally +1/+1. Now, what is interesting about this card is it says refill 2 mana. It doesn't say spell mana, and so therefore it gives you the ability to play more units on the field.
True, it does say that. Holy shit, I never even noticed that.
That's what I'm here for, buddy.
That's kind of fucked, but
So you could play a Mountain Goat on the same turn as playing, like, basically rinsing all your mana out on 2 cards and still have the mana to play.
Wait, holy shit, that's disgusting. You can play Mountain Goat into Eye of the Dragon and be net positive.
Basically, yes.
And why the reason I do bring up those 2 units specifically is because I think, in lack of any other 4-drops in the Lee Sin deck, I think this card might make it. Even if you put a single buff on a Eye of the Dragon, it goes from being a 1/3, which is a fairly discrete stat line, to a 2/4, which is a very annoying stat line. Yeah. Like 2/4 is a huge brick in the road. Like that's a hard unit to get past.
Plus, then you also have the fact that this could work obviously on top of Lee himself, or even the damn little what's his face, the lifesteal butterflies.
Dragonling. Right, yeah, the Sparkle Flies.
Yeah, that's the ones, because that can still get... So, it's quite devastating in that this could see play also if you were going for a discard kind of deck, like, potentially either with Draven in here or in P and Z with Jinx. The ability to use 2 cards is relatively easy in both those decks because they run cheap things, and so the ability to then do that and then either give Draven or Jinx additional stat lines, plus as well getting 2 extra mana to then place something else onto the field, could be quite disgusting.
Yeah, no, I think I really like this card. This is my favorite of the cards here. The Targon cards are all relatively boring when compared to the other
Yes.
regions.
Yes.
And of the Targon cards, this is probably my favorite. This is my favorite serious card that might see meta play. The other regions are like, well, like most of these make me nut. I'm not gonna lie. These cards are so fucking cool.
These are crazy, but also I just want to say I'm going to disagree with my co-host on this one and say that my most excited card for Targon is this new one, Starbone. If you behold a messenger, grant all celestial allies everywhere +1/+1.
I knew you would.
Mate, do you know how many cards, especially even the Fangs now, that invoke celestial cards that are cost 3 or less? Messenger is not that hard to get. You also have Messenger's Sigil, which puts more of the copies of this guy in deck. He is a 2-cost, meaning that playing Aphelios means that you could summon those dogs immediately. You're giving all the Celestials +1/+1, so that is every Celestial. So not just making big ass doggos, but also this now means that Golden Sisters drops as what is like a 5/4 or something like that.
That is a 6-cost 10/8 stat dump.
I mean, and I just feel like there's so many things that can be expected. I'm so happy with this card.
The card is deceptively powerful. Like I like it as a meme, but I'm also like apprehensive that it might actually be quite good.
I mean, zero cost 3/2 with the jump rope. So
yeah.
I mean, I can see myself having a lot of fun with this. That's the point that I want to make. Is I can see myself.
Yeah, no, I think I like Messenger Sigil. I like Messenger Sigil. I think my problem with this card is that it's a little bit forced.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the cards here, especially the ones from the non-Targon regions. They allow you to build deck archetypes that didn't really exist before, and they are very focused deck archetypes, and I like that. But Starbone naming one particular card is just like a little bit too focused for me.
Oh yeah, no, I'll give you that. But it was too funny, and
I still prefer the Veiled Temple.
I love this card.
So on to the other regions,
yes.
And I will say every single one of these cards, I am excited.
There is so many things that can be done, and I love what they've like. This has changed the game.
Can I please go off on? I have so much to say about stress testing.
Do it.
The Bilgewater P and Z all in Twisted Fate deck. Imagine you're going into turn 4. This card, by the way, 1-cost burst, remove fleeting from all cards in your hand. Or when it's discarded, draw 1 fleeting. You're going into turn 4. You play Twisted Fate. You have no floating mana. You pick his blue card. You draw a card. You're on 1 of 8. You use the 1 card from his blue card to cast a Rummage. The Rummage goes onto 1 of your stress testings. Or maybe even 2. You are now, the turn you played Twisted Fate, halfway or more than halfway towards leveling Twisted Fate.
Yes.
Or imagine, and this is more of a pipe dream than a real deck plan, but this is so funny. If you want to actually implement the first half of that text, remove fleeting from all cards in your hand, Zevi, mad value going off could be really funny. I don't think that's necessarily realistic. But even less realistic and so much funnier is Living Legends.
Yes, Living Legends just keeping all of the big crazy crap that you've just got off of that. that's what I thought would be a really funny use of this card. Most people will most likely use it for the discard draw.
Yeah.
But
on that line, by the way, a lot of people have the fear that this card will end up going into Jinx Draven, which is already a very meta dominant deck.
Yeah.
But just like Jinx Draven, 8 survival skills and then spat it out, and then just got started winning more often without the new card. I'm pretty sure stress testing doesn't go in Jinx Draven.
I mean, the legitimate question is, why is no one talking about playing stress testing with Lulu, right? Because
Sure, I guess.
Because leveled up Lulu gives you a fleeting help picks card, which is the barrier and grant vulnerable. Boom, keep that in my hand for one more turn, and I've got 2 of them, baby, on my attack.
Yeah. Ezreal makes permanent mystic shots. Hello, Ezreal rally.
Exactly. I mean, why is no one talking about these? Why is no one talking about these decks?
Yeah, I think if we're being logistic, I don't think this card's actually going to see play meta-wise anywhere, if I'm being honest with you, but I am so excited to play all-in Twisted Fate and flip Twisted on turn 5.
Yeah.
God, that's so gross.
That is, without a doubt, when I saw this card, the immediate card was pick a card that just came to my head when I just saw this card. I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. I didn't even think of that. I forgot what cards even made fleeting.
Exactly. Pick a card. Well, it's 3 fleeting cards. So either you could keep it, right? So you could keep the cards which are fleeting, or if in that pick a card, if you've got some stress testing, that will then discard it at the end of the round, helping level Twisted.
I'm actually looking at some of these cards, and I just forgot they existed. So we have Pool Shark and pick a card, obviously, in the deck we're talking about, but also Brash Gambler. I just forgot this card existed.
Yep.
You can go in the all-in Twisted Fate deck. You can go in for one enormous turn.
Yes.
Drawing upwards of 8 cards, all with fleeting, which previously was probably suicide. And just
go. No, yeah, I'm keeping all of them.
Yeah. Insightful Investigator and Zevi are far less compelling, but they exist and it's worth talking about. Yeah. And there was another card here. Oh yeah, Shipwreck Hoarder. I'm always a fan of more Shipwreck Hoarder memes. You can go deep on getting treasure, I guess.
Yep. As well as the fact that obviously it works with Jack the winner. I'm gonna keep that 0 cost dude 2 for an extra turn. Do I want to use it?
Oh, I can't wait to randomly get this off of University of Piltover so I can not discard it for one more turn. Yeah, I know it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You get to look at them during your opponent's turn.
This is gonna. Actually, no. Don't worry about this. Don't worry. Don't worry about what I was thinking. It doesn't work.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I won't.
Move
on. Yeah. No. It's hella cool. I love that one. The next one is Troll Gifts.
This is an insane card.
This is so good. Good God! Imagine you're attacking in to your opponent's. So your opponent's playing Scargrounds or something. You attack in. They're champions. Instead of playing Vladimir Braum, they're just playing Braum Trundle. And otherwise, it's just a normal Scargrounds deck. Your opponent attacks into you, and you burst speed, grant permanent +2/+2 onto that Braum. That's a 2/7 Braum. That is a game ending for so many decks. And the ability to give regeneration as a burst speed permanent effect onto cards like Vi, onto cards like insert card here that people tried to use Augur of the Behold, right?
The 2 cards which I immediately thought of that came to mind with Troll Gifts of granting regeneration was Fiora. Because Fiora can now just keep healing herself with all the damage. Bearing in mind this is also in Freljord, which means that Troll Chant's still in there. There's also Frostbite, meaning that's quite nice. And Tahm Kench. So running Tahm Kench without needing Soraka to be healing him up. He just heals himself up as he eats people.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with you. I actually had today at work. I was actually having a conversation with someone about the idea of playing Scargrounds Tahm Kench and giving him tough, giving him regen, and just going all in on this Tahm. And that seems like a ton of fun. Both nodes of this either granting regeneration. So, what is he called? Augur of the Behold? Is that his name?
The other one which does give Overwhelm and that, but you have to be holding an 8+ card.
When that card first got spoiled, people were brainstorming about what cards would be absolutely nuts to give those keywords to, and people were talking about Radiant Guardian and Vi and blah 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 blah. But this card was too clunky to play. It turned out to just be a little bit too weak. Troll Gifts, we now get to revisit the idea of who is obnoxious with regeneration.
Yes.
And the cards that already have regenerate shouldn't be ignored. I think the grant an ally regenerate part of this is probably stronger, but I cannot stress how powerful a 2/7 Braum is on turn 4.
May I counter you by one thing which has just come to mind? Instead, I know that obviously that is something that is worthwhile thinking about, is the fact that obviously it can give it to somebody who's already got regeneration. Those increased stats are not to be sniffed out, but imagine giving regeneration to Screeching Dragon.
Challenge,
the ability to challenge, and then just like it's getting itself up with fury, as well as the fact that it's just healing itself.
Yeah, the Ogre deck with Radiant Guardian and Screeching Dragon, that deck was pseudo-real, where you just played a 5-cost that was a huge bomb, and then you played the Ogre on 6. They curved into each other, but the deck just wasn't quite good enough for like inconsistency issues.
Yeah.
And having to play a ton of like 8 drops, like people were shoving Tiana in that deck and stuff.
Mm.
But this doesn't have. This is burst speed. This is like no. This card's nuts. This card's and it's the good kind of nuts. It's the cool kind of nuts.
I honestly can't wait to experiment with this a lot. Shall we move on to the next one, which is yet again really funny?
Yes. So, Gluttony. Shall we say the obvious thing first?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure it's the thing that everyone has said.
Anivia turns into Rekindler.
Immediately, yes, exactly. So
yeah.
Kill an ally with Last Breath to summon a follower from your region, which costs 1 more. So there's so many different things this can be used on. The important thing to bear in mind, right, is it is summon a follower. I've had several people already say to me, why don't you make a deck where what's his face, Grizzled Ranger can go into Quinn. It doesn't work like that. It only works with
that is so indicative of your audience that you've had multiple messages about that very specific interaction.
It's one of those things where it won't be able to do that. It will be able to go into Radiant Guardian, but it won't be able to go into Quinn. It won't be able to go into a champion. I had one person say to me, "Oh, it's a shame about this. I was honest to God hoping to use this on top of Ledros to then summon Asol." Sadly, you cannot do that, but it was a funny idea, and I laughed so much. I laughed so much when I heard that.
So,
yeah.
The playable death rattles, or at least the traditionally playable death rattles, that you could play around are Hapless Aristocrat, Avarosan Sentry. I doubt you're playing Noxus, so probably not Legion Grenadier.
Another thing to kill Undying, to potentially make Undying go.
Yeah, Undying, Cursed Keeper. I guess Mentor of the Stones. Like, I don't know what you would turn it into, but like Mentor of the Stones, Grizzled Ranger, Ledros, Anivia, and obviously Heart of the Fluff.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Those are the death rattles that have like meta presence. And if you're trying to force Demacia, Swiftwing Lancer is not a bad card.
I mean, it's quite clear that it should be run with PNZ, with that PNZ guy who his death rattle is like summon a. What is it? It gives you an elite card or epic card, and then
Eminent Benefactor,
and then he just immediately goes into the 5-cost henchman, and you're laughing, right?
Yeah, that was. I'm pretty sure that's what. I seem to remember Ruben talking on Twitter about how that was his plan for the card. Actually,
I knew it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. This card has very narrow play right now. It's very likely to see experimentation in Anivia Rekindler decks.
But it opens up two cards. Like,
I'm glad this card is nothing I'm going to be building around right now, but I'm glad this card exists, and one day this will be strong. That day is probably not now.
Yeah.
And if it is strong, we know what deck it's going in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this next one, the Ionian one.
Yeah. Isn't this plucked directly off of r/custom LOR?
I don't know. It could be, but all I know
I'm pretty sure we've seen this card before, but it was a custom.
All I know is this is 100% banter, and I can't wait to experiment with it. Fist of Widget, so Flurry of Fists, grant an ally +1 and quick attack, so grant them this. If they already have it, grant them double attack. There is not enough double attack in this game, and the comedy of the fact that I cannot wait to see the interaction is obviously the card just needs to have quick attack, right? So my instant thought is run this in a Reforged deck with Riven. She has the 1-cost gem which gives quick attack, and then use that to then make that double attack. Throw that on top of anything with Overwhelm, and you're done, right?
Yeah, I think I'm very excited. I love anything that brings realism to the idea of Ionia aggro. Every single time a new set drops, I look to see if Ionia aggro is going to be feasible. I shat the bed when Lulu got spoiled. Then I was very disappointed. But yeah, Flurry of Fists. Yeah, Flurry of Fists is. I'm gonna play so much Draven Zed.
There is so much fun that this can do. As you say, literally, it can give Draven or Zed that double attack, the ability to then throw Overwhelm on them. I was honestly
do you know what's if you use this on Draven when he is on 1 of 2 already, or like you throw 2 axes on him, he gives himself Overwhelm in time for the second strike.
Yep, and
that's so fucking cool.
That is going to be a lot of fun to experiment with. I was honestly even thinking, throw this on top of Iron Ballista. If I said in the Reforge deck, just giving it quick attack off of the thing and that, and then that is a lot of damage going in already of Overwhelm, and then you could even increase that with Wrath. Like there's certain different. I honestly feel like there's going to be a lot of things. Even just throw that on top of Swole Squirrel and you're done, right? Like in terms of just striking several times and just get insane value, right?
I have a question. It's not about Flurry of Fists. I've just had a sudden thought about stress testing.
Yes.
Like, something we've never had to come up, like, something that's never been an issue before, or something to think about even, is so if stress testing has fleeting, if you discard stress testing and then you draw another stress testing, and then at the end of turn you discard it because of fleeting, then you draw another card with fleeting. Do you get to hold on to that card with fleeting during your opponent's turn? Because, like, your end of turn has already resolved and happened?
I don't know.
There's never been a reason for that to happen in the game before.
We will see, right? That's going to be the thing. We're going to see what happens with that. But getting back...
because I'm just thinking, if that does work, then you can you can level up Twisted Fate on turn 4 if you just high roll.
I mean,
you can just draw 4 in a row.
So much luck, but it is honestly possible. You're right. This would be a lot of fun.
Sorry, deviating from the path, but that just suddenly struck me.
It's gonna. I mean, honestly, it'd be interesting to see how that works. And yes, that could potentially be very insane.
But yeah, Flurry of Fist, good card.
Flurry of Fist,
strong, cool.
As well as the fact that even its own region, you could throw Rush on top of something and then grant it double attack. That's also another thing.
Yeah, Rush, Ghost.
So
more Voltron. Bring more Voltron to this game.
So
yes,
the Powder Pandemonium.
Yes.
Really funny card. I actually misread this card upon my first reading of it, because I thought that it just summoned a Powder Monkey and then gave all as many times as you've played Plunder, just made everything vulnerable. No. It gives you a Powder Monkey and does that. So for each time you've activated Plunder this game, it will give you a Powder Monkey and make something vulnerable on the opponent's side of the field. So that's a lot of Powder Monkeys potentially. And then ability to trade off with things.
Yeah, I like that. So you're going all in Plunder, right? So you're playing like Citrus Courier and stuff. There's a lot of, if you are building this all in Plunder deck, there is some cards that you must play and some turns that must feel amazing. Like, imagine your opponent has already spent a ton of their mana. So, like, they have the attack token, they haven't opened attacks, they've just, like, developed some dumb, huge threat.
Yeah.
You, what's it called? Warning Shot their face and play Citrus Courier. They go in for their attack, and you just tank it because you're a Chad. You play Powder Pandemonium. You now have the attack token. All of your Powder Monkeys are, like, 4/1s because you're playing all in Plunder, and you've already played 2 of the, whatever it's called, the 3/2 that gives you 1 cost.
Jagged something, I know what you mean,
And then you pluck their board apart. Like, their entire board now has vulnerable. You take the game back. Your ex-wife calls you and tells you that she misses you. Like, it's just a great day.
Yep. My two. I mean, that's devastating. My two faults for this card are either I throw this into Freljord to go with their plunder stuff as well. That allows me to use troll gifts on top of was it Monkey Idol? Therefore, meaning that I've got a continuous spring of monkeys anyway. Because obviously it will regenerate the troll gifts will regenerate the monkey idol, mean that I'm getting all that, and then I'm just getting the plunder continuously and working off of that. Or in Shadow Isles to work with a burn kind of prankster or Neverglade collector. Like that's where my mind instantly goes with this card.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to build around this card, probably in normals, but like I'm excited to play with it.
We must go quick, my friend, as I need to go downstairs soon.
Oh yeah, that's fine. There's only 2 cards left, and this next one requires like nothing needs to be said. Wild Claws. 2 enemies strike each other. If it has overwhelm, deal excess damage to the Nexus. There's a lot of words to make you think that this card's good. I love the flavor because it's Savage Reckoner's like claws, and Savage Reckoner has Challenger and Overwhelm, but that also gets you thinking, right? This essentially stitches a rally effect for that one card and Challenger onto your Overwhelm, but like On Guard costs 3, and what I'm saying is this card sucks dick. Like I cannot ever imagine you would want to play this.
The only 2 reasons that this gets played is potentially if you've managed to knock somebody down enough, and then Darius comes on the board with like 10 stats, so that he trades into something and then does overwhelm damage. Is slow speed as well, or Tryndamere. Tryndamere and Darius are like my only 2 like overwhelm guys. So I'm thinking this at least.
By the time you've resolved those 2 cards, though, you should be laughing anyway.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. It's an interesting card. I do like the idea of it, but yeah, it's probably not. It's out of all of these cards, it's not the best.
Yeah, it's probably the worst one. The only positive thing I can say about this card is it got me thinking about playing Demacian Overwhelm with On Guard, which I look forward to playing. And this last card is my favorite one. Like, you might not believe this because it's relatively boring, but this is my favorite card of the lot. Molten Breath. An ally with Fury strikes the 2 weakest enemies. I thought Rasa was the coolest card under the sun, and now I can turn my Fuse Firebrand into a Rasa. Like, you can play Fuse Firebrand on 5. On turn 6, you play this. Your opponent is not going to have the resources to kill your Fuse Firebrand. It's got fucking Spell Shield. They lose their 2 weakest units, and then you win the game. It's like, this card's fucked. Like, I just made it into like Masters the last time I was playing the game during the charity live stream, and I now need to actually think about climbing up and like gaining numbers and thinking about how I'm going to get like a solid place in the top 700. I'm going to be playing Mono Lux, Demacia Control with Fuse Firebrands and that dumb 4/5 with the Screeching Dragon, and I'm going to end people's career. I freaking love this card.
I mean, it is going to be a lot of fun to use that card. It does just give dragons like at least something else, because it's now something where it can do those strikes very quickly. It works to really quickly level Shyvana is a potential thing as well. But as you said, literally there is like some cards you can just throw us on the board, let it strike in. It's going to be pretty much most of the time trading its way through. Both times it hits because it's the weakest thing, so you're just limiting down the board and then going forward with a big ass dragon who's got the fury attacks off of killing. So fury buff. So it's a really good card.
Yeah, you clear away like your opponent's Solari Sun, like your what's it even called, Solari Priestess, and like some other crap, and then you're left with a 7/7. You attack in.
Its only problem is the slow speedness of the situation. Like in terms of that, it does mean that like it gives your opponent the chance to open, and like obviously you can put it in front of it, but it depends on what the situation is with trading.
I'm not unrealistic. I don't think this card is broken. I'm just very excited to play it.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely it's gonna be something which people are gonna try in Dragon decks, because it is probably, I mean, it definitely works better than the other Dragon Strike card, which is the Strafing Strike that Shyvana makes anyway. So this is just a better, because it is just striking. It's not a single combat. It is a strike, which I believe means that they won't take any damage. Like the actual unit won't take damage itself, right? So
you're getting your 2 Fury triggers. You're keeping all of your health. I love this card.
So yeah, no, Richard, honestly, like really good. That is all of the cards. It's so exciting to see that they've added these cards. The patch notes were fantastic. So as an, I've got to head off now, my friend. But honestly, it's been amazing talking with you. Plug the things.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will take it from here. You have a good evening.
Same to you, my friend. Which honestly, it's been marvelous talking to you about all of these things. Yeah. Until the next one, my friend. But yes, I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun crafting with these cards.
All right.
Yes,
I will see you later. And to the rest of you, thank you for hanging out with us. This has been episode 3 of Voices of the Old Ones. I'm glad that we have this thing going. I think like yeah. I think indeed. Have a good evening, folks. Yeah, I butchered that ending.
It was a good ending. You tried well.
Thank you. You need to go downstairs. Go away.
I'm going away.